The overseer didn't live too much better than the slave. You not equal to me, but you just better than them. That was the most devious thing that they'd ever did. It was making poor white people feel like the threat to them economically was the working class black, was the black who was willing to do the things. That was the most devious thing. It wasn't, that's why I say racism is the makeup that classism wore. That was it. That was it, y'all. Every time. Every time. The biggest threat to America is black people who become self-sufficient. Remember I told y'all something. Cotton, tobacco, sugar cane. It was the lifeline of America. Right, this is the Civil War was behind. Right, but here's what I want y'all to, so when I told y'all something, and I want y'all to remember when I said something, before the Civil War, before the World War, 90% of Americans lived where? In the South. And then we started navigating, we started moving out, we started making, and then once there was a lot of areas where we realized, hey, check this out. You know what? We agree with y'all. Y'all don't want us over there? We gonna be over here and we gonna build ours. The problem with that was, once you start becoming affluent, once you started realizing that you didn't need to be that was threatening to white Americans. Here's why. Because you had more, and watch this, I'm not saying this to be, you had more poor white people in America than you had. And so, watch this. Here's how things really got crazy in America. It went from black and white to, if you're poor and white, and they are black and affluent, then they're taking the wealth that you should be having. That was the most devious thing that wealthy white Americans did in that time. That was the most devious thing that white America did to black people, to other white Americans during that time. They didn't say, you gonna be wealthy like me. They said, hey, the wealth that, the self-sufficiency that they building, they taking away from you. And that's why I always say racism is just the makeup that classism wears. That is why I always say racism is the makeup that classism wears. Why? Because it was classism at the top. It was, hey, they making, hey, they driving cars, they building cities inside of this, they doing this. And so when you looking like, damn, so the number one thing they said was, the wealth and the affluence that they building, they taking it from you. That's supposed to be your business. That's supposed to be your house. That's supposed to be you driving that car. That's supposed to be you with them acres of land. That's supposed to be you with that cotton field. That's supposed to be you with that grocery store. You supposed to be that shoe man. You supposed to do that. And that's why I always say that. When you think about who the overseers were weren't rich white men. Overseers were poor white men who needed jobs. Overseers weren't rich white men. Overseers were often poor white men who needed jobs. Because there was one point in time, watch this, there was a point in time where you had white and black in the fields. The wealthy had white and black in the fields. The wealthy had white and black picking cotton. But then it came, hey, check this out. You don't need to be in no field picking no cotton with no, hey, check this out. Your servitude is gonna be, you oversee them. That's how that came. Your servitude, the way you pay your debt is, you oversee them. You still ain't equal to me, but you better than them. You're not equal to me. I'm wealthy. I got the plantation. I got this. but you're better than them. I'm gonna put you in an outhouse. Your house ain't no better than their house. The difference is you got a bed with cotton on it. You can go to the bathroom. You can do whatever you need to do. I got the heater. You got a little lamp. The overseer didn't live too much better than the slave. You not equal to me, but you just better than them. That was the most devious thing that they'd ever did. It was making poor white people feel like the threat to them economically was the working class black. Was the black who was willing to do the things. That was the most devious thing. That's why I say racism is the makeup that classism wore. That was it. That was it. That was it. That was it, y'all. Every time. Every time. The biggest threat to America is black people who become self-sufficient. The minute you start realizing, hey, I could build my own city. Guess what? You don't want me over here? Guess what? I'm gonna go over here. Guess what? I ain't gonna shop over here. Guess what? I'm not gonna live over here. Guess what? So here's what happened. Watch what they're saying right here. Due to suburbanization, right, which drew residents to new housing outside of the area. In 1958, urban renewal, that's what they called it. You know what urban renewal was? All these areas of black people that's becoming self-sufficient, we're gonna tear it down and we're gonna run highways through it. Any city you see where there's a major highway, it started by running through like if you go to the wealthy neighborhoods, the interstates ain't get built through the wealthy neighborhoods, bro. Hey, don't build that over here. You know why? Because I got enough money, my neighbor got enough money, my neighbor got enough money, my neighbor got enough money to say, hey, we got you in office, fam. Don't you run nothing over here. Go run it over there by them. If you go to Tulsa, Oklahoma right now, bro, that interstate runs right through that district. Not only did they run an interstate through it, bro, they built a minor league baseball stadium in the middle of the district. How you build a stadium in the middle of this? You know why? The goal is to eradicate the existence of this. The goal is to eradicate the existence of this. And we got like 8 more that we found. The goal is to show you that you ain't never been great, fam. Your story is slavery. Your story is criminal. Your story is the males ain't this. The story is that you lazy. The story is that you violent. The story is that you a gangbanger. That is the story. That's what the minstrel show was all about. Blackface was all about white America dressing up as black people and showing us as inhumane. The cartoon characters, the Birth of a Nation that they came out with. It was birthed around that, and one of the scenes in there is a white woman on a cliff, and the white man with the black face acting as a black man, she jumping off the cliff saying, I'd rather die than that a black man touch me. This is how the Ku Klux Klan got rebirthed in America. I'm telling you that racism is simply the makeup that classism wears. And so this is why you gotta stay in the market, because you gotta build wealth, fam. And you gotta build wealth not just for yourself, you gotta build wealth for everybody who suffered to get you in position where you have the freedom to press that button, to press buy, to press sell. That's what this is. You can talk about the Freedom Bank, how they got all the black people. We're gonna talk about that too in one of these weeks, where you got all the black people to put their money in the bank. And guess what they did, bro? They just took the money out the bank. They just took the people money, bro. Working class black people who built barbershops, nail salons, everything, got them to put their money in the bank, said, we gonna back the bank up. These are real working class people. They said, hey, they just took the money, took it, tell them they were taking it. The government approved that they could take it. Then they try to get Frederick Douglass to come say, put some money in the bank. Frederick Douglass put the money in the bank. He said, wait, hold up. I realized that they ain't got no money in this bank. Y'all made me the faces the whole while. Y'all done backdoor and robbed it blind. Let me get my 10 grand back. Y'all tripping. This is why you gotta do it. This is why you gotta stay in the game. This is why you gotta play the market, through the ups, through the downs. There's people that came before you that died to try to give you position, and they got taken from them, and they built the interstate through it. They put a baseball stadium in the middle of it. They tearing up stuff in Washington right now. How you tear down a black Wallstreet Parkway or whatever that was in DC? You just decided to tear that up. I'll take that out of here. It's a whole monument. How you just decided to just take that up? How you just erase something that's a monument that represents something? We gonna tear it up. You know why? Because we have to eradicate your existence as being great. We gotta eradicate the existence that you stood for something. We can never show you that. That's why we gonna shoot the nose off the pyramids and the sphinxes. And we gotta never show you that. As long as you think about it and you don't have no true facts that you can prove it, we can deny it never existed. How you tear this down? You ain't been in office 30 days. Of everything that's going on, this is the thing that's on the top of your list in 30 days. This tariffs and tear this out. Tariffs, DEI, tear this out. Now, I ain't gonna get into the DEI conversation. I got my own ideas about that, but how you just take and say, hey, this monument gotta go. That's like me saying, hey, the Lincoln Monument, hey, it's gotta go. This monument, it represents something. It gives people hope. This is why you gotta make the decision. And we can look at it as the whole entire, I'm just saying the representation. We know the movement got, oh, we talking about representation matters, y'all. Representation matters. We get so caught up in semantics sometimes, but we forget that representation matters. Representation. Representation matters. So what you gotta do is, on this journey, you gotta make that decision. Gotta make the decision to know it's worth it. All right, let's get into it, man. So I don't wanna get into we had a thing on it. Let's run a clip for 3 minutes and let's cut it off, you heard me? I know we got a video clip. Let's run a clip for 3 minutes because we got a lot to get into.
When it was flush, you know, with black businesses along Fairville Street, along Pettigrew Street, black businesses in commercial neighborhoods. You had 5 tobacco companies here: Universal, Liggett Myers, A.A. Robinson, American Tobacco Company, Imperial. And so a lot of folks went right to tobacco factories. Good thing about the tobacco factory, they were all unionized jobs. So they gave, you know, black people an opportunity and a tool to use against, you know, discrimination and whatever else happening.
In the 50s and 60s, North Carolina was kind of hitting tough times. Tobacco industry was slowing down, furniture industry, cotton mills were slowing down, agriculture was in decline.
We always felt slighted, like, okay, we're gonna give up our neighborhood for all these wonderful jobs in the Research Triangle, which never materialized.
They didn't replace none of the business. They didn't replace none of their houses. They really didn't replace it with nothing but 147. That's what you travel up and down the road every day. When I think about Hayti, I look at 147.
urban renewal was a policy that came out of the Housing Act of 1949, which was a bundle of policies that basically dictated all of our housing policies for the next 50 years. One piece of that was what is called urban renewal, or as James Baldwin famously dubbed it, Negro removal. How it worked is the federal government gave large sums of money to local governments with very little strings attached. The money was to be used for what they called slum clearance, and slums were very, very vaguely defined. And so in city after city across the country, those areas tend to be poor Black areas. And in Durham, the primary casualty was the Hayti area.
The Durham Committee and other entities was really selling this idea that they didn't categorize it as urban renewal. You know, for them it's an economic development opportunity. And so they sold the community on this here. And so the vote was that, yes, we're for urban renewal. They cut out spaces for Black, middle management, upper management, and then rank and file. And so, you know, those who were in the meetings or had access to stuff, they really sold this idea, and they were really selling it based on what they were gonna get out of it. You look at the Urban Renewal Commission, you see who's on that, no poor people on that.
While revitalization is a ground-up process that benefits most, if not all, the members of a community, in the process of gentrification, there are definite winners and definite losers.
If you just look at the map of Durham, you can see that the East-West Expressway kind of skips the major landmarks, like the American Tobacco Campus, like Irwin Mills, like the Cotton Mills in East Durham, like West Campus and East Campus. So it kind of skirts between all the major landmarks, but it went through less affluent communities of color, Hayti, Brookstown, Monkey Bottom, Crest Street, Hickstown.
It was devastating. I'll tell you how devastating. I come home in '66, I think, out of basic training, and so I caught the bus, and you know, I tell the guy, you know, cab driver, I'm going to 112, you know, East Enterprise, and you know, he didn't say anything. Starts driving, and I'm like, whoa, what's happening? Where's my street?
You can see that that whole entire area was quite literally wiped off the map and replaced by this very suburban, low-density style development. And so I think we can ask, where did those people go?
Fairwood Street Project, Few Garden, Cornwallis, the ones that was living in the home that didn't own them. I can't tell you where some of the other ones moved to, but I know the ones that was rentals, they ended up in housing projects. A lot of them. So, you know, 147 was a bad deal for Durham.
See, now we got people in the South Side right now who've been displaced from Hayti. They're displaced from Few Gardens. They're displaced from Fairwood Street projects. You can go on and on and on. So they didn't just face one urban renewal, they faced multiple displacement.
I was a little girl, and I remember running up and down Pettigrew. I remember going to the Riggers Theater. I remember going to my cousin's restaurant on Pettigrew. I remember all those things. My kids won't remember that. My kids won't remember but the banging and shooting and the drug selling and all that. Maybe all that was going on back then, but the children did not see it. It was not where we could see it. But they tore away a great part of Durham. And ever since they tore away Hayti, they have been pinching and pinching and pinching on Durham ever since.
Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. Oh, bro. What we talking about, bro?
The newspaper ad where it was like trying to get them to relocate.
Yeah.
And had the smiling in the kitchen like, you gonna be happy leaving.
Yeah.
Go on, get out of here. There was a lot in that. That's one of those joints you gotta go back to and like, all right, let me go back through this episode and rewatch that. There's a lot in there.
That's hard. Love, man. So You know, we just trying to, you know, if you see we pivoting a little bit with the show, you know, it's just cultural, man. And here's what I want you to do, man. And I'm gonna tell y'all something, man. You know, we got a dope research team. We doing a lot. Man, if you got a community that you know of with some history on, man, DM me.